There is an old saying in the East, the crescent moon is in the palm of your hand. Many people hear this and think it is poetry. A symbol, a soft riddle, but it is not. It is a truth that you must learn not with your mind, but with your life. It means the same power you gaze at in the sky, the same light that pulls oceans, that quiet force which governs cycles, beginnings, and rebirths, is not far away. It is not above you, it is already within you, but most people never see it, not because it's hidden, but because their eyes are always looking outward. They are searching for answers in books they never finish, in voices they cannot trust, in lives that are not their own. They chase things, people, titles, all in the hope that something will finally unlock the piece they are missing. And yet, what they are truly seeking is not out there. It has always been waiting inside, quiet, still, patient. In 2025, for many, the journey will shift, not because the world changes, but because they will start to look inward, possibly for the first time with true intent. And when that moment comes, when you truly pause and begin to observe, not from judgment, not from fear, but from awareness, something opens. Not in the world, in you. The first sign of this shift is subtle. You no longer react the way you used to. Where you once felt the need to explain, now you feel the need to understand. Where once there was chaos, now there is calm. You begin to notice how much energy you've given away in trying to control things that were never yours to hold. And slowly you release. Then something remarkable happens. The search ends, and the seeing begins. When you stop reaching outward, when the noise settles, you finally sense what's been quietly beating inside your chest all along, your own power, your own clarity, your own guidance. This is not ego, this is not pride, this is presence. You don't need to prove anything anymore because you feel something deeper, a connection, not just to yourself, but to everything around you. You start to understand that the crescent moon in your hand is not a symbol of control, but of alignment. It means you are no longer a stranger to yourself. This is when real power begins to emerge, not the kind that demands attention or applause, but the kind that moves without noise, the kind that builds discipline without struggle, that chooses integrity over impulse, that walks away from things not because of weakness, but because of wisdom. Because you now understand what no longer serves your growth, and you no longer apologize for outgrowing the version of yourself that once clung to what was comfortable but false. 2025 will bring this opportunity for many, the chance to live with deeper intention, to stop running in circles, to stop waiting for signs from the outside. The signs are already within you, waiting to be seen. But you must become quiet enough, honest enough, and humble enough to receive them. You will be asked to let go of many things this year, old habits, old attachments, people who do not walk with the same rhythm. At first, this may feel like loss, but in time you will understand it is not loss, it is return. You are returning to yourself, not the self shaped by fear or expectation, but the self shaped by presence and stillness. And the truth is that self was always there. The crescent moon was always in the palm of your hand. But to feel it, you must first stop grasping at things that do not belong to you. You must open the hand. You must be willing to let go of what you think power looks like, so you can experience what true strength feels like. And when that strength begins to awaken in you, it will change how you walk, how you speak, how you breathe. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you're no longer trying to be anyone. You are simply being. And in that being, there is a quiet confidence that no title, no approval, no possession can match. You will notice that you begin to speak less, not because you have nothing to say, but because you've realized how much can be said through your silence. Through your consistency, through your presence, people may begin to ask you, what changed? And you may smile. Because you know it wasn't something new you found. It was something ancient you finally remembered. This is the gift of 2025, not a year of noise, but a year of returning, a year of realization, a year where many will finally stop trying to become and start allowing themselves to be not chasing the moon in the sky, but realizing it has always been resting quietly in the palm of their hand. The only thing left is to stop doubting it and start living like you believe it. There comes a moment in life when everything you've been chasing begins to feel heavy. Not wrong necessarily, but empty. All the goals, the desires, the comparisons, they no longer move you the way they used to. And it's confusing because for so long those things gave you direction. They gave you a reason to get up, to push forward. But suddenly the direction feels unclear. You start to wonder, what am I really chasing? And more importantly, why? This is not failure. This is not losing your way. This is the moment before awakening. It is the point where the outer path begins to dissolve and the inner path starts to appear. It has always been there, but as long as your eyes were looking outward, you could not see it. You were too busy seeking, too busy filling the silence with noise, too busy asking the world for something only stillness can answer. The truth is, many people spend their whole lives seeking love, seeking purpose, seeking validation. They run faster, work harder, climb higher, thinking that maybe, just maybe, the next step will bring them peace. But peace is not at the next level. Peace is not a destination. It is not something you find out there. It is something you uncover in here, when the seeking stops and the seeing begins. To truly see, you must first be willing to stop. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You must become still enough to face yourself without distraction. To sit in the quiet and listen not to the world, but to your own being. And when you do, something begins to shift. You start to realize that much of what you were chasing was rooted in fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of missing out. Fear of being forgotten. And fear creates illusions. You thought you needed more when in truth you needed less. You thought you had to become someone else when in truth you only had to remember who you already are. You thought your power was out there, in achievement, in recognition, when in truth it was always within. Covered, not lost, quiet, not absent, waiting, not far. 2025 will be the year many come face with this understanding. The energy of the world will keep pulling people outward, more information, more updates, more distractions. But the ones who choose to pause, to stop seeking and start seeing, will begin to experience something different. They will feel more clarity even in confusion, more peace even in uncertainty, not because life gets easier, but because they stop resisting what is and begin accepting what always was. When you stop seeking, you begin to notice what you were too busy to see, the patterns, the habits, the subtle messages that life has been showing you again and again. You begin to see how many of your choices were reactions, not decisions. How many of your thoughts were not your own, but borrowed from others. And in that realization, you find freedom. Because if it was never truly yours, then you are free to release it. But this seeing does not come easily. It requires courage, the courage to sit in the unknown, to stop performing, to stop chasing the version of yourself you think the world wants. It is a deep, quiet return, and in that return you come back to what is real, and what is real is often very simple. Your breath, your body, the moment, these are not things you need to earn, they are already here, but to feel them fully, you must stop running from yourself. You must become still enough to meet your own presence. It is in this stillness that your intuition awakens. That voice inside that you've silenced with busyness and noise, it starts to speak again, and it does not shout. It whispers, it doesn't demand, it invites, and it says things like, slow down, let go, you already know, These are not commands from the outside, they are truths from the inside. And when you begin to listen, the world outside no longer controls your pace. You begin to move from rhythm, not reaction. There is a sacred power in not seeking. It is not laziness, it is clarity. When you no longer chase, you begin to attract. Not because you've learned a secret technique, but because you've stopped pushing away what's already meant for you. The right people, the right paths, the right timing, they all start to appear, not when you force them, but when you are present enough to receive them. This is the paradox. In letting go, you gain. In stillness, you move forward. In surrender, you find strength. When you stop needing, you begin noticing, and that noticing leads to truth, not someone else's truth. Not a borrowed belief, but your own, and once you've seen it, you cannot unsee it. It becomes the compass you carry with you through every decision, every challenge, every opportunity. And the best part is, no one can take it from you, because it's not given by the world. It's discovered within. It is yours alone. And when others ask how you became so clear, so calm, so focused, you won't have a complicated answer. You'll simply know it wasn't something new you found. It was something you stopped chasing, and in that stopping you finally saw. Because when you stop seeking, you begin to see what was never missing. In the world around us, it is often the loudest voices that are heard. The ones who shout, who demand, who react first and think later. We are conditioned to believe that power is volume, that expression is dominance, that urgency equals importance. But this path, the one of noise, is a shallow one. It burns fast and dies quickly. True growth, the kind that lasts, the kind that transforms you from the inside out, doesn't arrive in chaos. It arrives in silence. In 2025, many people will find themselves tested not by conflict, not by loss, not by external pressure, but by stillness. The test will come quietly, no warning, no announcement. It will come when the noise stops and you are left alone with yourself. That is when the real work begins. That is when the layers peel away and the truth shows its face. Silence is uncomfortable for most people. Not because it is empty, but because it is full. In silence, there is no one to impress, no mask to wear, no crowd to distract you. It is just you, your thoughts, your emotions, your patterns. And for many, that confrontation is the hardest one of all. The world teaches us how to react, how to defend, how to build identities out of noise. But it rarely teaches us how to sit, how to be, how to listen, not to others, but to ourselves. Stillness is a mirror, and like any mirror, it reflects what is there, not what you wish was there, not what you pretend is there, but what truly exists. In that reflection, you will begin to see the habits that no longer serve you, the ways you betray your own peace, the moments where your ego rises and your presence disappears. And at first, it may be uncomfortable. But discomfort is not the enemy, it is the invitation. It is life asking, are you ready to change? Many think growth comes in the grand moments, in breakthroughs, in applause, in dramatic shifts. But real growth is far more quiet. It happens in the choice to stay calm when your old self would have reacted, in the decision to listen when your instinct is to speak, in the ability to hold space for discomfort without running to distract yourself. These moments may seem small, but they are everything. They are the foundation on which true transformation is built. In 2025, the temptation to react will be strong. People will be more divided, more vocal, more triggered by uncertainty. The world will pull at your attention from every direction, but your strength will not come from joining the noise. It will come from standing in stillness, from holding your ground not with force, but with awareness, from knowing that the loudest energy is not always the strongest. Often it is the most unstable. Silence is not weakness. Restraint is not absence. To choose stillness when chaos surrounds you is a higher form of discipline. It means you are no longer ruled by emotion. It means your mind is not tossed around by every wave that crashes on the surface. You have begun to anchor yourself deeper, and from that depth, a new kind of clarity emerges. You begin to see patterns in your life that you never noticed before. You understand that not every question deserves an answer. Not every attack deserves a response. You begin to understand the difference between reaction and response, and more importantly, when neither is needed at all. This is how energy is protected. This is how focus is sharpened, not by fighting every battle, but by choosing which ones are even worth your time. And in this, you conserve your inner strength. You are no longer drained by trying to prove, persuade, or perform. You are simply aware, and in awareness you reclaim power not over others, but over yourself. Do not mistake this path for passivity. It is not about hiding. It is about choosing. Choosing when to act and when to wait. Choosing when to speak and when to listen. Choosing to operate from wisdom, not impulse. It is harder than it sounds, because everything around you will try to pull you out of it. But each time you return to your center, each time you remain still in the storm, you become stronger, more grounded, more clear, and you will begin to notice something. You will start to attract different energy. The chaos will no longer recognize you. The drama will no longer stick to you, because you are not feeding it. You are no longer vibrating at the frequency of reaction. You are moving in alignment. You are moving in peace. In this space, you don't need to raise your voice. Your energy speaks. Your presence speaks. And it speaks a language much louder than words, the language of discipline, calm, and awareness. Others will feel it. They may not understand it, but they will feel it. They will sense the stillness in you. And some will be drawn to it, because it reflects something they have not yet cultivated in themselves. This is your role in 2025, not to change the world with noise, but to stabilize your own energy so deeply that your presence begins to shift the space around you. Not with force, but with calm, with consistency, with silence, because true mastery does not shout. It simply remains unshaken. In the beginning, transformation is quiet. It doesn't announce itself with grand signs. It doesn't wait for the perfect moment or ask for your attention with noise. It begins in silence, with small decisions, with subtle changes, and at first no one sees it, not even you, because it doesn't feel like something big is happening. It just feels like you're breathing a little differently, thinking a little clearer, choosing a little more wisely. That's how it starts. You wake up one morning and decide not to check your phone first thing. You pause. You breathe. You sit still for a moment before letting the world enter your mind. That one small act, so simple, begins to change your relationship with your own time. Another day, you feel the urge to react, to respond with frustration, to defend yourself, to speak without clarity, and instead you wait. You let the emotion rise, you watch it. You don't act on it. That's growth, not the kind that earns applause, but the kind that builds strength. And this is what most people miss. They're waiting for a sign, for a breakthrough, for a moment when everything changes. But transformation doesn't arrive like a storm. It arrives like a whisper, a breath, a single choice, and then another and another, until suddenly you look up one day and realize you are not the same. You move differently, you respond differently, you carry a different energy, even if you cannot describe it. In 2025, many people will expect change to come in large waves. They'll look to the sky for signs, for shifts, for confirmation that life is moving. But the real change will be happening quietly, inside those who are paying attention. Those who have stopped waiting for the world to roar, and have started listening to the soft rhythm within themselves. That rhythm is your guide, And when you begin to follow it, your actions align, not in a way that the world can immediately recognize, but in a way that your soul can feel. You no longer waste time trying to explain yourself. You stop giving energy to arguments, to noise, to things that no longer match your path. You don't do this out of pride. You do it because you no longer need to be everywhere. You no longer need to be everything to everyone. You have found something more important, your center. And from this center, your life starts to change. Not because you shouted your goals, but because you honored your process. Not because you made a big announcement, but because you made daily commitments, quiet ones, invisible ones, but powerful ones. These choices begin to add up. Your discipline becomes consistent. Your energy becomes clearer. The gap between your words and your actions disappears. And people begin to feel that, even if they don't say anything. They notice you don't speak as much, but when you do, your words carry weight. They notice you're not in a rush anymore, but you move with purpose. They notice you're not seeking attention, but your presence demands it in the most humble way. This is what it means to walk in truth. You stop talking about becoming, and you simply become. You start to live what you once only understood in theory. You are no longer just reading wisdom, you are embodying it. You are no longer hoping for peace, you are creating it, moment by moment. You are no longer trying to impress anyone because you are not driven by external noise anymore. You are guided by something deeper, something that doesn't need validation to feel real. That's what makes the difference. In a world that rewards the loud, the dramatic, the visible, your transformation will not fit into those categories. It will be something softer, slower, but far more powerful, because it will last. It will not fade with time. It will not depend on anyone else's reaction. It will be yours, built through practice, through quiet mastery, through small steps taken with full presence. And yes, eventually, your life will begin to reflect it more clearly. The way you show up in your work, the way you treat others, the way you protect your energy, your time, your peace. People will begin to notice. They'll ask what changed, and you may not have a simple answer, because how do you explain that nothing changed suddenly, and yet everything is different? It wasn't one decision, it was 1,000, it was not a revelation, it was a return. You didn't find a secret. You finally listened to what had always been there. You became honest with yourself. You honored your path. You stayed consistent. You showed up. And eventually, your life began to whisper something different. Not with words, but with energy, with presence. And now, without needing to prove it, you are living it. And the world, whether it understands it or not, feels it. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to announce your growth. It's in your breath, in your calm, in your choices, in your silence, because the truth, once embodied, does not need to be said. It just needs to be lived.